What's going on, people? So in this video, I'm going to go over why I became a software engineer at 30. Now, that was 5 years ago, so I can quite confidently say I've been a software engineer for quite a few years now. Believe it or not, this handsome face is 35, not 22. Before I start, I'm going to split this video into two sections. So the first half, I'm going to talk about why I became a software engineer, what were the drivers, what was I doing before, and what pushed me to this particular career. And in the second half, I'm going to talk about the steps that I took to become a software engineer. So I'm also going to say my videos don't really contain any fancy cuts or every 10 seconds changing the screen. Quite honestly, I watch very boring videos all the time. I think if you're interested in the topic, you'll be able to sit through and watch it because the information will be relevant to you. And this video will be relevant to you if you are somebody who's looking to career change into tech. In fact, my whole channel will be relevant if you're looking to career change into tech, or you're over 30 and you're thinking about a career change, or you're just somebody who likes to hear a story for somebody, you know, who doesn't come from a good background but worked hard and things worked out for them. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now let's start with this. I have no degree, never went to university unless you count the time I went and had a party because my friends were there. Freshers week, woo! But no, I don't have any formal education in software engineering and computer science. I barely scraped through high school. I dropped out with one GCSE. I don't know what the equivalent of that is for other parts of the country, but I had a very bad education. I hated conventional education. I was clever, but I wasn't challenged. I got into bad things, drugs, from a young age, and I sort of just fell out of school and went into the world of work, which I suppose was based a little bit on nepotism, because at the time my dad had a refrigeration and air conditioning firm. But before you think, wow, I must have made loads of money, it was a startup. It didn't make tons of money. We worked a lot of hours for very little, but I'm thankful for it because it taught me my work ethic, and what it helped me understand is that I am an engineer. I love engineering and fixing things, but I spent 10 years in the wrong side of engineering. Now, as anybody watching this video will attest who works for a family business, you don't get paid very well. But I grew up in a low-income household. We didn't have the fanciest things, and we were very grateful for what we did have. So money was never a primary driver for me. However, as I got to creeping up on the grand old age of 30, I had 2 kids, and I didn't yet own my own house. Money started to become very important to me because I started to realize that maybe I should have been chasing a bit more money. I should have been chasing higher earnings. But when you come from a low earner background, you don't realize the kind of money that you can earn in a well-established career. So one of the first drivers for me when I sort of got into looking for a new career, not specifically tech, was what area can I, somebody with not much or not a great education, make a hell of a lot of money at. Now, there's going to be people who watch this video and people who follow me on LinkedIn, well, money shouldn't be a driver in software. Fine, you work for free. I'm not going to. I want to work for money. I want to earn good money. I want my family to be secure in the fact that we can do things that I could never do growing up. You know, I can take them out and buy them nice trainers, not from the market. I can take them out to buy nice clothes. And there's not a vanity aspect about it, but it's just nice that you can do these things for the people that you love. So one of the primary drivers growing up the way I did that brought me into a tech career was money. Now, money is not a means to an end, right? There are other things that contribute towards your freedoms, towards your lifestyle, towards your mental health. And one of those things was time. Now, if you've ever been a service engineer, whether that's in air conditioning, refrigeration, electrician, or anything that involves an on-call rota, you will know that you spend a lot of time on the road. Now, I was practically living in my van. There's old videos of me with, you know, a fork in my van because I'd spent so much time there, nail clippers, you know, that's where you'd eat, that's where you'd clip your nails. And at the peak, I was doing about 2,000 or 3,000 miles a week up and down the country. Now, the UK is obviously not as big as the USA, so it's probably nothing compared to the American audience, but compared to the UK audience, I was on the road 12 to 15 hours a day. In the on-call rota, I was working probably about 90 to 100 hours a week, and that was sort of normal. When you have kids, you start to realize that, do I actually want to do this? You know, there was a moment when I looked around me to the other people who I was working with who were all in the 40s and 50s, and 99% of them were divorced, right? Now, I didn't want to be divorced because I was working all the time. I don't see why I should be trading so much of my time for I didn't understand why I should be trading so much of my time for money. I was 100% convinced that there should be other jobs out there where I could work less hours and make more money. And the third sort of driver, which a lot of you all are probably going to relate to, is I was thinking about my future. I sat down one day and I was thinking, well, if I stay doing what I'm doing, I'm on the road all the time, I'm not going to be involved in my kids' upbringing, we're probably not going to make a lot of money, and I'm probably going to end up divorced at some point because that's what most people in the sort of air conditioning, refrigeration, electrical area seem to be. Is that really what I want? And then I was also looking at the people around me saying, you guys are in your 40s and your 50s, and I absolutely love you all to bits, but you're working so hard for a very, very meager retirement pot. And it just didn't logically make sense. I don't think, I didn't see the point on working the next 30, 40 years myself to the bone, seeing these guys with bad backs and slipped discs and broken down bones, aching all the time, arthritis, bad lungs from all the inhalation of all the gas and everything. I'm like, is this really what my future's going to be? Now, okay, maybe you all can't relate to that, but there are going to be bits in that story which relate to you, whether directly or indirectly. You might be in a career where you want to make money, but actually I'm working in a warehouse, I'm never going to make more than minimum wage. You may be thinking to yourself, yeah, I wasn't working 100 hours a week, but I'm working 70 hours a week, or I'm working 90 hours a week, and I'm just not making enough money. Or you're going to be thinking to yourself, well, what are my future prospects? Do I have a job or do I have a career? And these are three things that drove a lot of my decisions that sort of led me towards looking for a new career. Now, if you have asked yourself those three questions and you are thinking about a career in tech, you should definitely check out the link in the comments to the Developer Careers Academy. This is my academy where I am very active and I'm helping people break into tech career switches or junior engineers, improve their job prospects, make more money. Why? Because when I was coming into this industry, there were no resources, and I'm building and mentoring people like yourselves. So if anything I've said so far resonates with you, then check it out, because it could be what changes your life, how I changed mine. So check it out, because it's definitely worth it to get your questions answered, to get support, to get into tech, and to grow and thrive in the industry. Now, okay, that covers the first half of the video. What were my drivers? Now I'm going to go into how I actually got to figuring out that I wanted a job in tech, what personality traits I had that helped, which you can adopt if you don't already have, and then the steps I took to get into tech itself. Okay, so once I sort of went through the thought process that I've already been over of, I really can't stay in this industry anymore, I need a new career, I had to first figure out, okay, what is a job and what is a career, and establish the difference between the two. Now, a job is something you can be in forever but not go very far, not earn more money, not get a higher position, whereas a career is something that you can invest time into, which has a comeback, right? You can make more money, you can climb the ladder. Now, there's three personality traits which I had from engineering, which helped me stand out a lot and sort of put myself into software. And before I go over that, I'm going to say I did take around 6 months out, which I know not everyone can do, where I tried different things. I was building websites on WordPress, I was doing SEO, I was doing digital marketing. I got a lot of experience in sort of the digital sector because I thought marketing or something was the area I was going to go into, until I got the opportunity to get exposed to software, and I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. Let me get a bit of this. Now, the first personality trait that helped me a lot from an engineering background was I always asked why. I always want to know how something works the way it does. What makes it work that way? Why does it work that way? And I think being curious is a very, very strong trait of somebody who wants to work in software, because really anyone can write code, but if you understand, or you want to understand, how things come together, how they operate, how it acts behind the scene, it's a very strong driver to be a very good software engineer. The second personality trait I had, which helped my sort of switch into software engineering, is tenacity. Going from somewhere where you sort of education doesn't matter to going into an industry where there's so many people with high levels of degrees and very, very well spoken and high levels of education and great backgrounds, it's daunting. You do often feel imposter syndrome, absolutely whoop your butt. You feel like you shouldn't be there, or you've not worked hard enough to be there. And especially coming from a low education, you really have to prove yourself on the fact that you can speak to people eloquently, you can learn new things, and you can apply those techniques. But having tenacity just kept me going, regardless of who I was speaking to or what I didn't know. I was just constantly like, get up and do this, get up and get it done, wake up, it's a new day. And the fact that I could do that so often helped me get through the really, really low times, which there are and there will be if you are thinking about moving into this industry, especially as a career changer. Third personality trait was having and this isn't something I was born with, but having self-awareness. So having the self-awareness to accept that I don't know everything, although I was willing to learn. Having self-awareness to know that it was going to be a long road ahead of me. I was going to have to put in the hard work over the years to build myself up and to learn the things that I needed to know. Having the self-awareness to know that this is a great path for me, but I'm going to have to work hard to stick it out. Okay, so with that, we've gone over sort of where I was before and what drove me to the career change. And then I've also covered the sort of three personality traits which helped me transition into tech, which are all things you can adopt because I did. Now I'm going to go over what I did to actually get into tech. Now, my channel is focused on helping people not only get into tech, but also accelerating their careers when they're in there. So if I don't cover something that you particularly want, ask in the comments or check out my other videos or join my community on School the Developer Careers Academy, where you'll get direct mentorship from me anyway. Okay, so the first thing I did is actually try to write code, right? Because there's no point going to do a degree or going to do a boot camp or whatever it's going to be if you don't actually know what it is you are doing. So there's tons of free resources online. You can go to Free Code Camp, you can go to YouTube, you can look at Web3 schools who also have a bootcamp now, or you can go the paid route from somewhere like Code Academy. Now these are all great options to give you some exposure to what code actually is. And honestly, these are great resources. I taught myself enough just from these free resources that I knew how to code the basics. So I sort of went through the Free Code Camp route, went through Code Academy, paid for some courses, and I was comfortable writing some JavaScript and understand sort of the basics of HTML, CSS, how to put a website together, and that was really exciting stuff 5 years ago for me. Compare that now to where I'm writing servers and APIs and I'm working on more advanced stuff. It seems ridiculous, but that's part of growth, right? So that exposure to sort of writing code, what code is, understanding the different areas of it is what sort of helped me drive a little bit more. Now, getting the foundations is vitally important. You need to understand what you're going into. Now, what I suggest to people in my mentoring group now, especially the people who I work with one-to-one, is you need to think about where you want to be in a couple of years. So pick your area, front end, back end, mobile app developer, whatever it is, and work your way backwards. Go get some exposure to it, because you can't just go into this thinking I'm going to learn how to code and then I'll just sort of flip-flop about. It doesn't work like that in your early years. You really need somewhere to focus so you can learn good solid groundings and good solid basics to move forward. Now, a lot of my work involves sort of resume, CV reviews, helping people approach job hunting and navigating how to apply for jobs and how to do follow-ups, etc., etc. And the reason I got so good at this is because I did hundreds of CVs in my first year. My second year, I was taking interviews, so many interviews, because I was helping people around me at the time. There were people around me who wanted to also get into tech. So I was doing interviews to get the experience, find out what questions they're going to ask so I could prepare other people, which sounds a bit crazy now when I think about it, but it worked for them and it helped me sort of build my strength and my foundations for interviewing as well, which is why right now I usually interview extremely well, because it's all repetition and experience. So I went through a boot camp after teaching myself how to code. Now you're probably thinking, why did you need a boot camp if you know how to code? Primarily because I was 30 going against people who were like 18, 19, 20, and I knew I didn't really stand a chance unless I could get in front of a company. I knew if I could get in front of a company and get an interview, I could probably outperform most people just because of my people skills that I've developed over the years. And this rang true, right? So if you are a career changer, you have a lot of skills, you just don't know what they are yet. People skills, conversation. This is all stuff that will outshine somebody coming through university who may have slightly more technical skills, but they lack people skills massively. Now at that time, sort of 2019, there weren't as many boot camps about. They still had a better reputation, so I did get in front of a company and I managed to land a job. That didn't last long before it didn't work out. The company wasn't great, so I was on the market trying to figure things out for myself, and that's where I really got my foundation of learning how to write a CV, how to ace interviews, how to do job applications, how to build relationships with recruiters, again, which is all stuff I teach in my mentoring group. Now, from that first job, I learned how to speak to managers, how to build my career, and that's not stuff I'm going to cover in this video because I think I've gone on long enough. But if you do want to know more about that, check out the other videos in my channel. This video was about why I decided to career change into tech at the age of 30, and I hope I've covered that for you. If there's any questions you've got, then by all means, please ask them in the chat and I will get back to you